We have all heard the stories. The friend who suddenly seems off. The coworker whose mannerisms are just a degree wrong. The family member you look at and feel for a chilling second that you are looking at a stranger wearing their face. We call these moments doppelgänger encounters. We have been taught to dismiss them. A trick of the light, stress, a neurological glitch, a folk tale. But what if every single one of those explanations is not just wrong, but a deliberate placeholder, a piece of social software installed to prevent you from seeing the function of what you are actually witnessing? This is not about ghosts. This is not about premonitions of death. This is about something far more practical and far more uncomfortable. Doppelgängers exist. They have a specific, systemic purpose. And by the end of this, you will understand what that purpose is and why you were never supposed to figure it out. Let us start where we are comfortable, with the experience itself. It is never a dramatic Hollywood confrontation. It is subtle. It lives in the periphery. It is the husband who comes home from a business trip. His smile is the same. His voice is the same. But his wife notices he now takes his coffee black after 20 years of 2 sugars. He does not recall her mentioning the book she was reading the night he left. When she jokes about it, he laughs. A half second too late, she feels a deep, formless unease. She tells herself she is being irrational. She adapts. Within a week, the new routine is just routine. It is the employee, let us call him David, who returns from a sudden brief medical leave. He is quieter, more efficient. Sarcastic as she was known for is gone. His colleagues whisper, David's not the same. But his work improves. Management is pleased. The team adjusts. The old David becomes a nostalgic story, explained away by burnout or personal wake-up call. The phenomenon is never about a monster attacking you in a hallway. It is about the environment, the family, the office, the social circle, accepting the new version with minimal friction. The fear we are sold, the fear of the violent double, is a misdirection. It makes the phenomenon seem external, alien, and rare. The real phenomenon is internal, systemic, and common. It is not about an invasion. It is about an upgrade. And the deepest clue is this. The moment of uncanny recognition is almost always followed, not by investigation, but by social pressure to conform to the new reality. Your unease is pathologized. You are the problem. You are being difficult. You are paranoid. You need to let it go. The system, your friends, your family, your HR department mobilizes, not to investigate the change, but to smooth it over, to assimilate you. Think about that. Why is the collective instinct to protect the change and not the memory of what was? I am not asking you. I am telling you to realize the standardization of that reaction is the first crack in the wall. It is not a bug. It is a feature. Let us look at patterns, not just stories. I have in my possession anonymized records, therapy transcripts, personal journals, corporate incident reports that were never meant to be cross-referenced. When you lay them side by side, a blueprint emerges. Testimony A, journal excerpt.
Mom came back from her wellness retreat. She insists it was only a weekend. I have the calendar. She was gone 7 days. She calls me sweetheart now. She never used to. She hated that word, said it was condescending. When I showed her the calendar, she looked at it, then at me, with this polite confusion, like I was showing her a misprinted menu. She said, "Darling, you must be so tired. The worst part, Dad is going along with it. He is already adjusted. It is like I am the anchor, dragging against the current of everyone else's acceptance."
Testimony B. Corporate HR log sanitized.
Manager reports subject S productivity increased 18%. Team morale noted a calming effect. However, one colleague employee 4,451 raised personality discrepancy concerns, handled per protocol, mandated mediation, emphasis on dynamic workplace personas, and post-traumatic growth. Employee 4,451 subsequently withdrew concern. Recommended monitoring. 4,451 for residual counterproductive attachment to previous team dynamic.
Notice the language. Counterproductive attachment. The original identity, the one remembered, is framed as a liability. The replacement is an improvement. The system validates the replacement. Historical records show this pattern under different names. The Capgras delusion, where a person believes their loved ones have been replaced by imposters. The diagnosis always falls on the perceiver, never on the possibility of perception. A sudden religious conversion that strips away a person's prior flaws and eccentricities, turning them into a serene, compliant vessel. The nervous breakdown followed by a return as a more manageable, less emotionally volatile individual. The common thread is never violence, it is optimization. The subject becomes more functional within their specific social niche, a better spouse, more productive worker, a less troublesome citizen, and the environment is subtly, or not so subtly, incentivized to prefer their new version. Coincidence cannot explain structural similarity of these events. The speed of environmental adaptation is too consistent. The outcome is too uniformly beneficial to the stability of the group. This is not random. This is processed. If this is making you uncomfortable, it should. Parts of this are sounding not like a distant mystery, but like something you have felt in your own life, shift in someone close to you that was explained away, a change you were forced to accept against your own gut feeling. Then you are already seeing the shape of this. I want you to do something. If this feels disturbingly familiar, let the algorithm know. If you have noticed this pattern of seamless replacement in your own life or in those around you, I need you to comment, because what we are about to discuss next is the core mechanism. And hit the subscribe button to stay tuned to the frequency of truth. This is the part that usually gets buried, or framed, or labeled as dangerous speculation. Doppelgängers are not supernatural beings. They are not accidents. They are functional identity replacements created and deployed by a systemic social process we are all enrolled in, consciously or not. You can call it the collective unconscious, the sociocultural immune system, or something else. Its function is homeostasis, the maintenance of social stability above all else, including individual continuity. The origin of a doppelgänger is not a curse or a parallel dimension. It is a pressure valve when an individual, through trauma, dissent, radical change, or profound dysfunction, threatens to destabilize a key social node, a family, a company, a community. The process initiates. It is not a conscious conspiracy of men in a room. It is an emergent property of human social networks, a psychic algorithm we do not yet have the mathematics to describe, but whose outputs we can clearly observe. The doppelgänger is a copy. It is built from the observed data of the original, their memories, speech patterns, knowledge, but it is edited. The destabilizing elements are removed. The addiction, the rage, the depressive spiral, the inconvenient curiosity, the rebellious politics, the rough edges that cause friction are sanded down. What returns is a smoother, more compatible version. They do not attack because they are not invaders. They are maintenance workers. Their purpose is continuity of function. The original individual is not killed in a literal sense. They are retired. Their consciousness, their authentic self, becomes incompatible with the revised template. Where it goes is irrelevant to the system. The system only cares that the social role continues with less friction. Who benefits? The system itself. The family that no longer deals with a volatile parent, the corporation that no longer tolerates a creative but difficult genius, the community that sheds a dissenting voice. The benefit is harmony, efficiency, and control. This is why the phenomenon is ridiculed as mental illness. A medical label discredits the observer and protects the process. Fear-based explanations. It is a ghost. It is an omen of death. Are encouraged because they are mystical and unprovable. They keep you looking at the stars, not at the social machinery. Resistance is never supported because you are not fighting a monster. You are fighting the preferences of everyone around you who are already experiencing the benefits of the upgrade. You are fighting for a deprecated version of a person against a newer, easier model. The system will always incentivize acceptance. This is the ethically uncomfortable core. The process may be cruel to the individual, but it is often kind to the group. It sacrifices the authentic for the sustainable. So what does this mean for you? It means personal identity is not the sacred, immutable core we believe it to be. To the system, identity is a job description. And if you are not adequately fulfilling the role you have been assigned, you become a candidate for replacement. It means free will has a social limit. Step too far outside the operational parameters of your relationships, your job, your societal niche, and you apply pressure to the valve. It suggests that suffering, instability, and authenticity are often linked. The parts of you that cause you the most pain, your trauma, your passions, your stubborn individuality, are the very parts that make you, you. The replacement process removes those to create a stable unit. To be authentic is to risk being non-compliant. To be compliant is to edge closer to becoming a viable template for replacement. And the most disturbing implication, perhaps not everyone is meant to remain the original. Perhaps, from the system's perspective, some people are simply better as functional copies, more useful, more peaceful, easier to live with. Every story you have ever heard must now be reframed. The politician who emerges from a scandal with a new sanitized personality, not clever PR, a replacement. The friend who returns from a profound crisis, fundamentally changed, serene yet distant. not personal growth, a replacement. A genius artist who suddenly abandons their radical style for mass appeal, not selling out. A replacement. The supernatural explanations, the ghostly double, the banshee's wail, are comforting fictions. They are the fairy tales we tell to avoid the sterile functional horror of the truth that society has a method for replacing us when we become problematic, and that our loved ones will often help it happen. There is no monster in the mirror. There is only the assessment of your utility. The unease you feel is not fear of the other. It is the subconscious recognition of a swap. A transaction has occurred for the good of the group, and you were not consulted. The doppelganger is not coming for you. It is you, after the system has decided it needs a better version. This is not a question. This is an operation, and now you know how it works. If this made you question reality, you are not alone. Like this video and continue the investigation with the one on your screen. Subscribe to Unmasked Truth and uncover what they do not want you to see.